The sky above Musutafu did not tear like fabric. It cracked like glass. A thin line opened high over the city. It shone bright white, then gold, then a color that did not have a name. Wind pushed down from it like a heavy hand. People on the street looked up. Some pointed. Some lifted phones. A few just froze, as if their bodies understood danger before their minds did. Then something dropped out of the crack. Not a person falling. A spinning blur, riding a cloud that moved like it had its own will. The cloud curved and dove between two tall buildings. It left a wake of air that made posters flap and street signs rattle. It skimmed over a crosswalk, then pulled up hard and stopped on the flat roof of a convenience store like it had brakes. A figure stood on it, a young-looking man with sharp eyes and wild hair. A thin gold band circled his head. His clothes were old-fashioned, but clean. A long staff rested across his shoulders like it weighed nothing. He also had a tail. It flicked once, like a cat's tail. He looked down at the street with the calm interest of someone watching a game. "New place," he said, voice bright and casual. "New rules, new faces." Below him, a small crowd had already gathered. Not just civilians. 2 low-level villains were working the block. One had a quirk that made his arms stretch like rubber cords. The other could spit sharp stones from his mouth like bullets. They had knocked over a vending machine, grabbed 2 terrified teens by the collars, and were yelling about protection money. The tailed stranger leaned forward. His eyes narrowed. "Bullying," he said, like he was tasting a bad word. "That's the same everywhere." He stepped off the cloud. He did not fall. His body dipped, then drifted down like he had decided gravity was optional. He landed in the street with a light tap. No crack in the asphalt. No big drama. Just a quiet landing in the middle of a loud crime. The rubber-armed villain barked a laugh. "Hey, this is our—" The stranger's staff slid off his shoulders into his hand. He held it loosely, like a stick used for walking. "Let them go," he said. The stone spitter sneered and fired. Stones flashed toward the stranger's face. He moved his head a few inches to the side. The stones cut air where he had been. They shattered on the storefront behind him. The crowd screamed and scattered. The rubber-armed villain snapped his arm forward, trying to wrap it around the stranger's neck. The stranger's tail swished again. He lifted one hand, pinched the rubber arm between 2 fingers, and pulled. Just pulled. The villain flew forward like a fish on a line and slammed onto the ground. The stranger did not even change his expression. "Too slow," he said, almost kindly. The stone spitter tried to grab one of the teens and use him as a shield. The stranger's eyes hardened. His hand rose to his own hair. He plucked a few strands with a quick tug. He blew on them. The hair became tiny figures mid-air. They grew in a blink. 4 copies of the stranger dropped around the stone spitter, like they had been waiting there all along. Each copy wore the same clothes. Each copy had the same bright, dangerous grin. The villain's face went pale. "What the?" The copies moved together. One kicked the villain's ankle. One slapped his jaw. One yanked his wrists behind his back. The last one tied his arms with a cord pulled from nowhere. It was fast. It was clean. It was almost rude how easy it looked. The 2 teens stumbled free. They stared at the copies, then at the original. Are you a hero?" one of them whispered. The stranger blinked at the word. "Hero?" he repeated, like it was a flavor he had never tried. A siren wailed far away. More civilians came out, drawn by the noise and the sudden quiet after it. The stranger looked around, then down at the toppled vending machine and broken glass. He pointed his staff at the wreckage. The staff stretched, quietly at first, then longer, like it was uncoiling. It slid under the vending machine and lifted it back upright. A bus turned the corner too fast, its driver distracted by the crowd. The bus swerved toward the sidewalk, where a child stood frozen. The stranger's eyes snapped to the child. His staff shot out like lightning. It grew thick, a solid bar placed between the bus and the curb. The bus hit the staff with a loud metal scream and stopped. Civilians gasped in relief. Then the staff kept growing by accident, driven by the stranger's quick emotion. It swung wide. It missed the child. It also swept through a billboard pole and snapped it in half like it was paper. The billboard tilted and crashed onto parked cars. The street exploded into panic again. The stranger froze, then frowned. He said. That was not perfect. A shadow crossed the street. A huge figure landed in the center of the chaos, with a boom of air and dust. A man built like a mountain, a smile like sunlight. All might. His eyes scanned the scene in one breath. 2 villains down, civilians scrambling, a bus blocked from disaster by a staff that was still shrinking back to normal size. All Might's smile stayed, but his voice was careful. "Everyone, please stay back," he called. "Heroes are here." His gaze settled on the tailed stranger. All Might stepped forward, hands open, not attacking. "You saved lives just now. Thank you." The stranger looked All Might up and down. The bright costume, the steady smile, the way people's fear softened just from seeing him. The stranger's mouth curled into a grin. "You," he said. "You're their strongest?" All Might blinked. Well, I do my best." The stranger leaned in a little, eyes shining with interest. "Good. Tell me where your Heaven King is." All Might's smile faltered, just a fraction. "Heaven King," he repeated. The stranger tapped his staff against the street. The sound was soft, but the ground gave a small tremor anyway, like the city itself had listened. "Every world has someone who says they rule it," the stranger said. "I want to meet them." All Might took one slow breath. "Let's talk somewhere safer." The stranger tilted his head. "Talk first. Fight later?" All Might did not answer that. Far away, in a dark room filled with screens and silent machines, a signal spiked. Not a quirk registry ping. Not a normal energy reading. Something else. A hand rested on the arm of a chair, fingers tapping once. A calm voice spoke in the dark. "That is not a quirk," All for One said. And somewhere under the city, plans began to move. Aizawa did not like surprises. He especially did not like surprises that made the air feel heavy. He stood with his capture scarf wrapped loose around his neck, eyes half-lidded, watching the tailed stranger walk down a clean hallway like he owned it. The stranger's cloud floated behind him like a lazy pet. UA staff had asked him, politely, then firmly, to leave the cloud outside. The cloud had refused. Now it drifted a foot above the floor, following him anyway. All Might led the group. He stayed between the stranger and everyone else, without making it obvious. That was what good protectors did. They did not show fear, but they also did not pretend danger was not real. Principal Nezu waited in a testing room that looked friendly on the surface. Bright lights, white walls, safety padding, cameras hidden behind tinted panels, sensors in the ceiling, reinforced steel under the paint. Aizawa knew the truth. If this stranger decided to break out, the room would slow him down for maybe a second. Maybe. Nezu greeted them with a warm smile that did not match the sharp light in his eyes. "Welcome. My name is Principal Nezu. Thank you for coming peacefully." The stranger looked down at the small animal-like principal and smiled wider. "Small body," he said. "Big eyes. Smart." Nezu's ears flicked. "I take that as a compliment." All Might cleared his throat. We'd like to understand who you are, where you came from, and whether you mean harm. The stranger held up both hands. Harm? No. Unless someone deserves it. He said it like it was simple. Aizawa's gaze narrowed. That kind of answer could mean mercy. It could also mean danger. Nezu gestured toward a chair. Please, sit. The stranger glanced at the chair, then sat on the edge of the table instead. His tail wrapped around the table leg like it was testing it. Nezu began with easy questions. What is your name? The stranger opened his mouth, then paused. His grin turned mischievous. Names had power. He knew that. He tapped his forehead band. I have many names, he said. You can call me Monkey. Aizawa watched All Might's face. All Might stayed calm, but his eyes tightened. He was doing mental math. How do you protect people from a being that might not even follow the same rules as reality? Nezu nodded like Monkey was a normal answer. All right. Monkey. Do you have a quirk? Monkey blinked again. Quirk? He rolled the word around like he was chewing it. Is that your magic? Midoriya sat behind a one-way window with Recovery Girl and a few staff members. He wasn't supposed to be there. But Nezu had allowed it, because Midoriya's mind was a tool when it came to unusual power. Midoriya's notebook shook in his hands. Tail, cloud that follows him. Staff that changes length. Clones from hair. Strength that looks effortless. That isn't a quirk pattern, Midoriya thought. That's like a whole set of abilities. Like a legend. In the room, All Might said, in our world, most people are born with a quirk. It's a special ability. Monkey leaned back on his hands. Born with power? He laughed. So your world has many little demons and spirits. All Might's smile turned polite. Not demons. Fine, Monkey said. Little wonders. Nezu's pen moved on his clipboard. How did you arrive here? Monkey pointed up with one finger. Sky broke. I came through. Nezu's tone stayed light. And before that, Monkey's eyes went distant for a heartbeat. For the first time, his grin softened. I was bored, he said. Then his smile came back like a door slamming shut. And I was looking for something worth my time. Aizawa did not miss the shift. There was history there. Heavy history. But Monkey hid it under jokes. Aizawa stepped forward. I'm Shota Aizawa, he said. Eraserhead. Monkey's gaze slid to him. Tired eyes, Monkey said. But your feet are quiet. You fight like a hunter. Aizawa's scarf twitched at the word hunter. Aizawa said, I want to see how your ability works. Monkey spread his hands. Sure. Aizawa's eyes went sharp. His hair lifted slightly as his quirk activated. He locked eye contact. Erasure. Normally, a person's quirk would shut off. Fire would die. Hard skin would soften. Invisible people would reappear. Aizawa could stop powers for as long as he didn't blink. Monkey did not change at all. His cloud still floated. His tail still moved. He tilted his head, curious. Are you doing something? Aizawa's stomach tightened. That meant one of two things. Either Monkey's power was not a quirk, or Monkey's power was so far outside the system that erasure couldn't touch it. All Might took a half step forward. Aizawa didn't speak. He kept his eyes on Monkey, forcing his own blinking down, letting dryness sting. Monkey leaned in, peering. Your eyes are red, he said. That looks annoying. Then Monkey smiled, and his body flickered. For a split second, his outline blurred like smoke. He became a bird, small, black. Perched on the table, Midoriya's breath caught behind the glass. Then the bird became a fly, then a cat, then Monkey again. Aizawa's quirk did nothing. Nezu's pen stopped. His smile didn't. But his mind was moving fast. faster than most humans. This is transformation, Nezu said softly. Monkey nodded. 72 kinds, he said, like he was proud of a simple number. Maybe more if I feel like it. Midoriya scribbled harder. 72 transformations. Clones. Staff control. Flight. Super strength. This isn't like one quirk. This is like a whole myth. All Might kept his voice steady. Monkey, we need to set some boundaries. You cause damage out there, even while saving people. Monkey's grin returned. Damage happens, he said. The weak things break. All people are not weak things, All Might said. His smile stayed. But his voice had steel in it now. Buildings can be repaired, but fear stays. We protect people from fear, too. Monkey's eyes narrowed. He studied All Might with a new kind of interest, like he was testing the inside of the man, not the muscles. You talk like a king, Monkey said, but you smell like duty. He shrugged. I like duty. It makes strong men heavy. Aizawa's eyebrow twitched. Heavy? Is that a compliment or an insult? Nezu spoke again. We have systems, laws, hero licenses. Monkey leaned forward. Licenses? He laughed, loud enough to make the cameras shake slightly. You need permission to fight bad men? Midoriya flinched. That was a real question. A question people argued about in class, in quiet ways. All Might answered calmly. We need permission to use power in public, because power can hurt people, even good people. That's why we train. Monkey twirled his staff with one finger. It spun like a wheel, perfectly balanced. I trained, he said. I learned my lessons the hard way. Nezu's voice stayed gentle. Where did you train? Monkey's grin faded again, just a touch. On mountains, he said. In palaces, in cages. He said the last word like it tasted bad. Aizawa watched him closely. Cages, punishment, pride. This wasn't just a strong stranger. This was a strong stranger with a long memory. Nezu asked, Are you human? Monkey blinked, then smiled. I'm me. All Might tried a different angle. Do you want to be a hero here? Monkey looked puzzled, then amused. Do you want me to be your soldier? All Might paused. No, I want you to choose to protect people. Monkey leaned back, tail swishing. Protecting people is easy, he said. Staying bored is hard. Aizawa's eyes narrowed again. There it was. The danger. Not evil, not cruelty. Boredom. A bored, godlike fighter was a natural disaster with a smile. Nezu flipped a page. We want to avoid conflict, but if you hurt civilians, we will act. Monkey lifted his chin. Act? How? Aizawa spoke, blunt. We plan. Monkey's grin sharpened. Good, he said. Planning makes it fun. A soft knock came at the door. A tall man in a suit entered with 2 agents. His face was polite. His eyes were not. Aizawa recognized the posture and the tone before the words. Hero Public Safety Commission. The man bowed slightly. All Might. Principal Nezu. Eraserhead. His gaze landed on Monkey. And you. Monkey waved like they were friends. The suit man held out a clipboard. We have a process for unidentified high-level individuals. Registration, interview, quirk classification, a temporary restriction order until we have more data. Monkey stared at the clipboard as if it were a venomous insect. You want me to sign paper, he said slowly. It's standard, the man said. Monkey took the pen. Everyone tensed. Aizawa's scarf lifted a little, ready. Monkey looked at the signature line. Then he wrote, slowly and carefully, in huge letters that did not fit the box. Great Sage, equal to heaven. He added a little drawing of a smiling monkey face at the end. He handed the clipboard back like he had just won a contest. The suit man's mouth twitched. "That's not illegal." Monkey leaned forward, eyes bright. "Your paper does not control me," he said, voice still playful. "But I will. Play your game for now." All Might exhaled, small and careful. Nezu nodded like this was acceptable, even as his mind raced. Aizawa felt cold inside. For now. Those 2 words were a timer. Outside the building, reporters were already gathering. Cameras, questions, fear dressed up as curiosity. And in the shadows of the city, more eyes turned toward UA. Hawks watched from a distant rooftop, wings folded tight, listening through a small earpiece. "Unidentified entity," a voice said. "Not in any database." Hawks's smile was light, but his eyes were serious. "Yeah," he murmured. "I can see that." He watched Monkey through a window high above, a tail flicking, a cloud drifting in a hallway like it belonged there. Hawks's voice softened. "This one's going to change everything." Deep underground, All for One listened to the same reports. He did not smile. He did not frown. He simply leaned back. "A power that ignores erasure," he said quietly. The doctor beside him hesitated. "It may not be a quirk at all." All for One's fingers tapped the armrest once. "Then we will not treat it like a quirk," he said. "We will treat it like a myth." His voice stayed calm. His plan began to form. "Prepare a test," he ordered. "A public one." The test came sooner than anyone at UA wanted. It started as a normal day in Musutafu. Sunlight, trains running, students walking in groups, a few heroes on patrol, relaxed but alert. Midoriya was in class, trying to focus on notes, but his mind kept pulling back to Monkey, to those transformations, to that staff that could stop a bus like it was a toy. Bakugo sat 2 rows away, arms crossed, jaw tight. He was pretending he didn't care. He cared a lot. Todoroki looked out the window like he was watching weather, but his eyes were too still. Aizawa stood at the front of the room, looking half asleep, but his attention was sharp. He had slept even less than usual. His eyes still felt dry from yesterday. Then alarms rang. Not the class bell. Not a drill. A real alarm. Aizawa's head snapped up. His phone buzzed. A quick message from Nezu. Multiple incidents. Coordinated. Downtown and near the transit hub. All Might's location pinged in too, already moving. Aizawa's voice turned hard. "Listen, this is not training. Stay inside. Follow instructions. Do not freelance." Bakugo's hands flexed. "Chor." Midoriya's stomach nodded. Coordinated meant planned. Planned meant someone was aiming for something. Aizawa stepped into the hall, pulling his scarf tight. He spoke into his comm. "Nezu," he said. "What's the target?" There was a pause. Then Nezu's voice, calm but clipped. "We believe it's him," Nezu said. "The tailed newcomer." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "Of course. You don't see a storm and ignore it. You either shelter from it, or you try to catch lightning." A few miles away, in a busy transit hub full of commuters and students, the ground shook. A creature dropped from above like a thrown boulder. It landed on the roof of the station, smashing concrete and metal in a wide circle. People screamed. Dust poured down through cracks. The creature was not human. It was a Nomu. Stitched skin, swollen muscles, blank eyes. But this one was different. Its arms were thick, but its body was lighter. Its legs were built like springs. Its mouth opened too wide. And it had something strapped to its chest. A metal frame with glowing lines. Like a cage made into a weapon. On nearby rooftops, villains moved into place. Not random thugs, people with roles. One had a quirk that could harden air into walls. Another could distort sound, turning screams into panic waves. Another could make sticky threads that clung like tar. They weren't here to win a fight against heroes. They were here to shape the battlefield. A man in a coat stood back from the edge, face hidden under a hood. His voice came through a small radio. "Remember," he said, "the goal is not to kill. The goal is to provoke. The goal is to measure." Down in the crowd, a woman clutched her child. The child's face was wet with tears. Midoriya's heart would have broken at that sight. So would All Might's. And as if the world had pulled him by a string, Monkey appeared above the station on his golden cloud. Like he had been waiting to hear the first scream. He floated, head tilted, eyes scanning. The Nomu leaped. It launched itself off the roof like a missile, aiming straight for the cloud. Monkey's grin returned. "Good," he said. "A welcome party." The Nomu's fist swung through the air with enough force to split concrete. Monkey did not dodge. He lifted his staff with one hand and blocked. The impact made the air burst outward. Windows on the station rattled. A few cracked. Monkey slid back in the air a few feet, cloud dipping under him. His eyes widened, not in fear, but in surprise. "Oh," he said. "You're strong." He sounded pleased. All Might arrived a second later, landing on the street below with a boom. He looked up and saw Monkey already engaged. "All civilians, evacuate!" All Might shouted. "Stay calm." "Move in groups!" Heroes on patrol rushed in. Cementos raised walls to guide people. Ingenium directed traffic. Edge shot flashed between frightened clusters like a shadow. Aizawa arrived on a nearby rooftop, scarf ready, eyes locked on the Nomu. He activated Erasure. The Nomu did not stop. Aizawa's face tightened. "Not a normal Nomu," he muttered. The metal frame on the Nomu's chest pulsed. A ring of light spread out, thin and fast, like a wave. As the wave reached Monkey, the air around him shimmered. For a split second, Monkey's cloud flickered. Not gone, but unstable. Monkey's smile faded. "That," he said, voice quieter, "is rude." The villains had brought a tool. Not a tool to remove Monkey's power, because they couldn't. A tool to disturb it. To make it harder to move cleanly. To force mistakes. The Nomu swung again. Monkey's staff stretched to meet it, but the staff's growth stuttered as the wave pulsed again. Monkey's eyes narrowed. He adjusted instantly, shrinking the staff instead, making it a tight, fast baton. He slipped under the Nomu's arm and struck its ribs. The hit sounded like a hammer on wet clay. The Nomu staggered, but did not fall. All Might jumped, catching the Nomu from below with a rising punch that lifted it away from the crowd. The Nomu flew up and crashed into the side of a building. Concrete broke. All Might's face hardened. "This is too close to civilians," he said under his breath. Monkey hovered nearby, watching All Might like he was watching a rival in a tournament. "You punch big," Monkey said. All Might glanced at him. "And you can do things I don't understand. We can talk later. Right now, protect the people." Monkey looked down at the crowd. He saw the child again, clinging to their mother, eyes wide with fear. Monkey's jaw tightened. "Fine," he said. "I'll do it your way." He plucked hair again. More this time. He blew. Dozens of tiny shapes spun out like sparks. They became dozens of monkey copies in midair. They dropped into the station area, landing on rooftops, on platforms, on the tops of walls. They moved fast, shouting simple instructions in loud voices. "Move! Go that way. Don't stop." Some carried injured people. Some lifted debris. Some caught falling chunks of concrete before they hit heads. Heroes stared. Ingenium almost tripped mid-run as he saw 3 monkeys at once, each doing a different job. "This is," Ingenium began. "Useful," Aizawa finished from above, even as his mind screamed, and also terrifying. The villains reacted quickly. They expected raw fighting. They did not expect a whole rescue team made of one guy. A sound distorter villain raised his hands, twisting panic into the air. The noise became thick, like pressure. People clutched their ears. Some froze, overwhelmed. Monkey's copies looked at each other. Then all of them grinned. They clapped their hands together, hard. The clap was not normal sound. It was force. The air itself snapped. The panic wave shattered like glass. The distorter stumbled back, blood trickling from his nose. "What is he?" the villain hissed. Monkey's eyes tracked the villains now, not just the Nomu. He saw patterns. He saw traps. He saw people trying to steer him like a bull. His smile returned, but colder. "Someone wants to play games," he said. The Nomu rushed again, aiming for Monkey this time instead of All Might. All Might moved to intercept, but Monkey held up a hand. "I'll handle this one," Monkey said. All Might hesitated. Every instinct in him said to keep control. But there was no controlling this, only guiding it. "Fine," All Might said, "but stay away from the crowd." Monkey nodded once. He kicked off his cloud and dove. The Nomu met him midair. For a moment, it looked like they would collide like meteors. Monkey twisted sideways, light and fast. His staff shrank to needle-thin length. He jabbed the Nomu's shoulder joint with pinpoint force, then flipped over its back and struck the metal frame on its chest. The frame sparked. The pulse wave surged stronger. Monkey's cloud flickered again, dipping. Monkey's eyes flashed with anger now. "Trying to shake my ride?" he said. "All right." He expanded his staff, not a little. It grew thick and long, shooting across the air above the station like a bridge being built in a second. It slammed into the Nomu's chest and drove it backward through the air, away from the crowds, toward an empty stretch of street. The Nomu crashed into the road, carving a trench. Cars bounced. Alarms screamed. No civilians were there. The evacuation had worked. All Might landed at the edge of the empty zone, relief flickering through him. Aizawa jumped down too, keeping his eyes on the villains in the distance. He could see shapes on rooftops. This was still a trap. Monkey drifted down, staff shrinking again as he landed near the Nomu. The Nomu rose, body steaming, eyes blank. It opened its mouth and roared. Monkey leaned forward, smiling like a kid who had finally found a worthy toy. "Good," he said. "Now we can stop pretending." He moved. He did not move like a human fighter. He moved like a thing that had fought for centuries and found new ways to be faster. He struck the Nomu's neck, then its ribs, then its knee, then its jaw. Each hit was clean. Each hit was placed with purpose. All Might watched, stunned. That isn't just power, All Might thought. That's skill. The Nomu swung wildly. Monkey's body blurred. For a breath, there were 2 monkeys, then 5, then 1 again. He was not multiplying this time. He was moving too fast for the eye to track cleanly. The Nomu's metal frame pulsed again, but Monkey adjusted by going low and staying close, making the pulse less useful. Then Monkey grabbed the frame. He dug his fingers under the metal and ripped. The frame resisted. Sparks sprayed. Monkey grunted once, not from pain, but from effort, like he respected the device for lasting more than a second. Then the frame tore free. The pulsing stopped. Monkey tossed the frame aside like trash. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. That device was the whole point, he muttered. All Might's gaze sharpened. Then the villains want it back. As if on cue, the air around the torn frame warped. A dark mist spread from a nearby alley. A figure stepped out of it. Tall, unnatural calm, hands in pockets. Kurogiri. All Might's body tensed. His smile was gone now. Monkey tilted his head at the mist. A doorway, he said. Cute. Kurogiri's voice came smooth and polite. We would like to retrieve our property. Monkey pointed his staff at him. No. Kurogiri did not move closer. He was careful. He was not stupid. Behind him, more villains appeared on rooftops. Not all of them were strong, but they were placed well. They had angles. They had hostages ready in the station if needed. Aizawa's scarf tightened in his grip. They planned for everything, he said. All Might's eyes flicked to the station. Monkey followed his gaze. His grin faded. He could feel it now. Fear. The way this world used people as pieces. He hated that. Listen, Monkey said, voice low. I don't like this game. Kurogiri bowed his head slightly. Neither do we, but we do what we must. Then Kurogiri moved his hand, and mist portals opened. One near the frame, one behind Monkey, one above. A trap. Not to hit Monkey, to force him to react in the wrong direction. The portal above dropped a chunk of concrete taken from a rooftop. It fell toward the street, where a few evacuation workers still ran. All Might launched upward to catch it. At the same time, another portal opened near the station entrance, and a villain with sticky threads shot a net toward a group of fleeing civilians. Monkey's eyes snapped between threats. For a half-second, he looked annoyed. Then he smiled again. Fine, he said. I'll do more than one thing. He plucked a single hair, blew, and created one copy. Just one. The copy darted toward the station entrance and cut the sticky net with the staff like it was string. Monkey himself leaped up, grabbed the falling concrete block with one hand, and tossed it harmlessly into an empty lot. All Might caught nothing but air, because Monkey had already handled it. All Might's eyes widened. Monkey landed, then pointed at Kurogiri. Your mist door, he said. It's useful. But you're too calm. Kurogiri's tone stayed polite. Thank you. Monkey's staff snapped out. It grew just enough to pin the metal frame to the ground, trapping it under the staff's tip. Not moving, Monkey said. Kurogiri opened a portal under the staff tip to swallow the frame anyway. For a moment it worked. The ground warped. The frame began to sink. Monkey's eyes narrowed. He planted the staff deeper, forcing it through the portal edge. The portal shuddered like it was choking. Kurogiri's mist wavered. Aizawa's eyes widened. He's pushing into the warp, he whispered. All Might felt a cold prickle up his spine. Monkey was not just strong in the normal sense. He was strong against reality. Kurogiri stepped back quickly, shutting the portal before it broke in a way he couldn't control. The frame stayed. Monkey's grin returned. Bright and sharp. Try again, he said. On a far rooftop, a hidden villain clicked a button on a small device and muttered into a radio. Data collected, the villain said. The pulse affected his cloud for a moment. It didn't stop him, but it made him adjust. He's not mindless, a second voice answered, calm and pleased. Good, All for One said. That means he can be guided. The villain hesitated. We didn't retrieve the frame. You don't need it, All for One replied. You need what you learned. Leave now. Kurogiri's mist thickened. It appears our request has been denied, he said to Monkey, still polite. Monkey waved with one hand. Very denied. Kurogiri bowed. Then we will depart. All Might stepped forward. Wait, who sent you? Kurogiri's head tilted, as if considering manners. A friend, he said. The mist surged. Portals opened. Villains slipped away like smoke. In seconds, they were gone. The street fell quiet except for sirens and distant cries. Monkey's copies faded into hair again, drifting down like soft feathers. All Might stared at the empty air where the villains had been. He felt the familiar frustration of an enemy who always slipped away. Aizawa walked to the torn metal frame and studied it. They didn't come to win, he said. They came to test him. Midoriya arrived with a small group of support staff, breathless, eyes wide. He had been kept back, but he had still seen enough from a distance to shake him. He looked at Monkey like he was looking at a living storm. Monkey noticed him and grinned. "You," he said, pointing. "You stare like you want to fight, but your hands shake like you want to learn." Midoriya swallowed. I want to understand," he admitted. Monkey nodded as if that was the only correct answer. All Might stepped closer to Monkey, lowering his voice so it felt less like an order and more like a request. "You saved people," All Might said. "Thank you." Monkey shrugged. "I hate bullies," he said. "That's all." All Might looked at the broken street, the cracked windows, the frightened faces peeking from behind cars. "This world," All Might said carefully, "is not built for someone like you." Monkey's eyes shifted to the crowd. Fear, awe, suspicion. Some people were already whispering. Some were filming again. Monkey's smile faded. He looked back at All Might. "Then build it stronger," Monkey said. Aizawa watched Monkey's face, searching for a lie. He didn't see one. What he did see scared him more. Monkey meant it. He really thought the world could just adjust around him, and maybe it could. Or maybe it would break. In the distance, helicopters hovered. Reporters shouted questions into microphones. The news was already turning this into a story with names and labels. But nobody here knew Monkey's real name. Not yet. All they knew was this. A being had arrived who didn't fit their rules. And villains had already started testing how to use him. The next move would not be a simple fight. It would be a battle over fear, control, and what a hero even meant. The next morning, the whole city felt louder. It was not just sirens. It was people. Phones buzzed nonstop. News screens played the same clips again and again. A golden cloud. A staff that stretched across the air like a bridge. Dozens of monkeys moving at once, carrying strangers like they were light. Headlines fought each other. Unknown quirk. God appears. New hero or new threat. Wild monkey man attacks villains and property. Inside UA, the teachers kept students away from windows. That did not stop them from trying. Midoriya sat at his desk, but his notebook was open to a fresh page. His pen moved fast. Cloud, clones, transformations, staff growth, strength beyond normal, immune to erasure, not a quirk pattern. He wrote one more line and underlined it hard. Legend level. Aizawa walked past the class door and didn't go in. He stood in the hall with a paper cup of coffee that had gone cold. His eyes were still red. He had watched the footage too many times. He didn't like that the villains had learned anything at all. He also didn't like how quickly the Public Safety Commission had moved. Nezu had called an emergency meeting in his office. All Might was there, too. Hawk showed up late, like he always did, as if time rules did not apply to him. A commission representative arrived with 2 assistants and a folder thick enough to be a small book. The man smiled the way people smiled when they wanted something. "We need to formalize this," the man said. "The public is panicking." All Might's posture stayed calm. "The public will panic more if we treat him like a criminal." The man's smile did not change. "We are treating him like a high-risk, unregistered power." Aizawa leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "He didn't ask to fall into our world." The man tapped his folder. "He also didn't ask before he cracked buildings." Nezu's voice stayed polite, but it carried a warning. "He prevented a bus from killing a child." The man spread his hands, "and broke half a street doing it. We can respect good intent and still require control." Hawks lounged in a chair like he was watching a show. His eyes were light, but his voice wasn't. "You want to put a leash on a hurricane?" The man looked at Hawks. I want the hurricane to sign a form that says it won't hit schools. Aizawa let out a slow breath. He signed your form yesterday. The man's smile twitched. He wrote a title instead of a name. That is not valid. All Might's jaw tightened. It may be the only name he respects. Nezu steepled his fingers. Where is he right now? One assistant checked a tablet. He is in a secured guest area, with 2 pro heroes stationed outside. Aizawa frowned. 2? The assistant hesitated. He asked for privacy. Aizawa's eyes narrowed. He asked. The room went quiet for a beat. Everyone understood what that meant. A request from a being like that was not really a request. Nezu stood. We will speak with him again. Not to threaten him. To learn. The commission man leaned forward. And if he refuses? All Might answered without raising his voice. Then we keep people safe anyway. We do our job. The man's eyes hardened for a moment. Your job is also to keep the system alive. All Might looked him in the face. The system exists to protect people. If it forgets that, it deserves to be challenged. Hawks gave a low whistle, like he was impressed and worried at the same time. Aizawa said nothing, but his scarf shifted slightly, as if it agreed. In a quiet guest room, Monkey sat cross-legged on the floor, staring at a TV. The screen showed him from 3 angles: his face, his cloud, his staff. A reporter's voice talked fast. Some are calling him a foreign hero, others call him a villain. Authorities have not confirmed his identity. Monkey leaned closer, squinting. They captured my good side, he said, pleased. Then the screen showed the billboard he had broken. Monkey's smile faded. They captured my bad side too. The door opened. All Might stepped in first, big and careful, like he was entering the space of a wild animal he didn't want to startle. Midoriya was behind him, because Midoriya had begged, and Nezu had allowed it, and All Might had decided a kind voice might matter right now. Aizawa stayed in the hallway, leaning where he could see in. All Might spoke gently. How are you holding up? Monkey looked at him. Why do you smile so much? All Might blinked. Because it helps people feel safe. Monkey's eyes narrowed, curious. Do you ever smile when you don't feel safe? All Might's smile stayed. Yes. Monkey nodded like he had just learned something important. Midoriya stepped forward a little. Everyone is talking about you, he said, honest and nervous. They don't know what to call you. Monkey waved a hand. They can call me Monkey. Midoriya swallowed. That's not what they'll do. Monkey tilted his head. Then they can learn. All Might sat in a chair across from him. We want to understand your powers. They don't fit our world. Monkey shrugged. Your world is small. That's not my fault. Midoriya's cheeks flushed, but he forced himself to keep going. If it's okay, can you tell us where you came from? Like, really? Monkey's tail flicked. He stared at Midoriya for a long moment. Then his grin returned, but softer. I came from a place with gods who liked to pretend they were better, he said. I didn't like that. All Might's eyes sharpened. Gods? Monkey nodded. I fought them. Midoriya's pen almost fell out of his hand. All Might leaned in. Why? Monkey answered like it was obvious. Because they tried to put me in my place. Midoriya blurted. What place was that? Monkey's grin sharpened. Below them. Midoriya felt a chill, not fear of being attacked, fear of what pride could do when it had the strength to back it up. All Might kept his voice steady. Here, we have loss. We don't want to cage you, but we do need you to avoid hurting people. Monkey rolled his eyes. Your laws are paper. Midoriya tried a different angle. But you did save people, even when you didn't have to. Monkey looked at him. You're the boy who watches, he said. You watch like you're collecting pieces. Midoriya nodded, because that was true. Monkey pointed his staff at him. Tell me, Watcher boy, what do you think I am? Midoriya's throat went dry. He had written the words already, but saying them out loud felt dangerous. I think, Midoriya began. I think you might be a story. Monkey blinked, then laughed. A story? Midoriya rushed on. Not like fake, like old, like a legend. Your powers don't act like quirks. They act like something people told each other for hundreds of years. Monkey's laughter softened into a grin. Good. You're not blind. All Might's smile faltered. Midoriya. Midoriya reached into his bag with shaking hands and pulled out his notebook page. He held it up like a peace offering. There's a figure, Midoriya said, from an old Chinese story. He rides a cloud. He has a staff that changes size. He can make clones from his hair. He can transform. His title is Great Sage Equal to Heaven. Monkey's eyes sharpened. The air in the room felt heavier, like it had gained weight. All Might stared. Aizawa in the hall went still. Midoriya forced himself to finish. His name is Sun Wukong. Monkey stood. Not fast, not aggressive. But the moment he stood, everyone's body reacted anyway. Muscles tensed, breath caught. The room felt smaller. Monkey stepped closer to Midoriya and looked down at the page. Then he smiled. Not a friendly smile, a proud smile. Yes, he said simply. Midoriya's heart hammered. So, you are? Monkey lifted a hand and tapped the gold band on his head. Sun Wukong, he said. The Monkey King. All Might's voice came out quiet. That's a myth. Sun Wukong shrugged. Then your world is lucky my myth walked into it, instead of staying where I was bored. Aizawa's voice came from the hall, low and flat. So you're immortal. Wukong turned his head slightly. I've died enough times to be tired of it, he said, like it was an annoying hobby he had quit. Midoriya's knees felt weak. Wait, you said gods? You fought heaven. Wukong's grin returned. I did. All Might held up a hand, gentle but firm. Wukong, if you really are who you say, then your power is beyond anything this society understands. Wukong looked at him. You understand strength, he said. You understand protecting weak people. That's enough. All Might swallowed. It's not enough for the people who want control. Wukong's eyes gleamed. Then they can try. Midoriya flinched at the casual confidence. All Might chose his words carefully. There are officials who will treat you as a threat just because you exist. They will push. They will pressure. They will call you a villain if you don't obey. Wukong leaned back, arms folded, tail swaying. If they call me a villain, will you fight me? All Might hesitated. That hesitation was small, but Wukong saw it. His smile turned sharp. So even you are trapped by your paper. All Might met his eyes. I'm trapped by my duty, he said. Not paper. For a moment, the room went quiet. Two symbols stared at each other. One symbol built by people. One symbol born from legend. Midoriya's voice came out small. I don't want people to fear you. Wukong looked at him again. This time his face softened a little. Fear is normal, Wukong said. But fear is also lazy. He walked to the TV and turned it off with one tap. No more talking heads, he said. If your world wants to know me, they can look me in the face. They did. The next day, the commission tried to stage a controlled public appearance. It was supposed to calm people down. A press zone, barriers, pro-heroes in a line, Nezu and All Might giving a statement. Wukong standing still like a statue, smiling politely. That was the plan. Reality went off the plan in the first minute. Wukong arrived on his cloud, not at the back, not through the safe entrance. He drifted down over the crowd like he was landing in a festival. Cameras flashed, people screamed, some cheered, some shouted insults. A child cried. A teenager yelled, "Do the staff thing." Wukong waved at the crowd like he was a celebrity. All Might stepped up quickly. "Everyone, please remain calm." Wukong leaned close to All Might and whispered, "Why are they behind fences?" All Might whispered back, "Because they're scared. Fences make them feel safe." Wukong looked at the fence. He flicked it with one finger. The metal rattled like a toy. He frowned. "That's sad." The commission man stepped forward, microphone in hand. "We assure you the situation is under control. The individual has agreed to—" Wukong grabbed the microphone. The crowd gasped. All Might's hand twitched, ready to intervene. Wukong held the microphone like it was a strange insect. He spoke into it anyway. "I am Sun Wukong," he said, voice clear. "The Monkey King." A ripple went through the crowd. Some people recognized the name, others didn't. The ones who recognized it looked like they had seen a ghost. Wukong continued, "I do not belong to your hero ranks. I do not want your paper. I will not be your weapon. If I see a bully hurting weak people, I will stop them. If you try to cage me, I will break the cage." The commission man's face went pale. All Might stepped in fast. "Wukong means—" Wukong held up a hand to stop him. "No, I mean what I said." Then he smiled, as if he had just ended a speech at a party. He handed the microphone back like nothing had happened. The crowd erupted. Panic and excitement mixed into a storm. Some people shouted, "He's a villain!" Others shouted, "He's a hero!" A few shouted, "Monkey King!" Hawks watched from above, perched on a light pole with his wings tucked tight. He sighed. "Well," he muttered. That went great. Aizawa stood on the ground at the edge of the press zone, face blank. His mind was not blank. He could see the next steps already. The commission would push harder now. Villains would push too. And Wukong would hate being pushed. That was the real danger. Not the staff. Not the clones. Not the cloud. The danger was pride meeting fear. In the dark, All for One listened to the broadcast. He didn't laugh. He didn't get angry. He looked pleased. He gave them the name, he said softly. "Good." The doctor shifted nervously. "Should we act now?" All for One's finger tapped the armrest once. "No, not yet." A screen showed Shigaraki pacing like a caged animal, scratching at his neck. "I want to kill him," Shigaraki snapped. "I want to see his face crumble." All for One's voice came through, calm and smooth. "You want to destroy what shines. That is your hunger. But hunger is not a plan," Shigaraki growled. "He's mocking us." All for One's tone stayed gentle, like he was teaching. He is bored. He is proud. He hates chains. He leaned forward slightly. "So we will not fight him like a hero fights a villain," All for One said. "We will fight him like a prison fights a storm." The doctor asked, "With what?" "He ignores erasure." All for One smiled faintly. "Not everything needs erasure." A new file opened on the screen. Project, Seal Cage, Status, Prototype, Ready Method, Resonance Field, plus Capture Hardware. All for One's eyes gleamed. "We only need to make him hesitate." Shigaraki's voice came sharp. "And then?" All for One's smile widened just a little. "Then we give him a choice," he said. "A choice that makes heroes look like liars." The choice arrived in pieces. First, a leak. A video spread online. It showed Wukong saying, "If you try to cage me, I will break the cage." The clip was cut before his line about stopping bullies. Then a rumor. UA is hiding a monster. Then another. The commission is letting him walk free because they want to use him. Then the protests began. Outside UA gates, people gathered with signs. Some begged UA to keep Wukong. Some begged UA to send him away. Students watched from behind glass. Their world felt like it was shrinking. Midoriya felt sick. He didn't blame people for being scared. He had been scared too. But he also remembered Wukong's clones carrying strangers. He remembered the way Wukong's face changed when he saw a child in danger. That mattered. All Might met Wukong on a quiet training field at dusk. No cameras, no crowd. Wukong sat on the grass, twirling his staff. All Might approached slowly. "You're stirring the public," Wukong shrugged. "The public stirs itself." All Might sat a few feet away. "You could make this easier." Wukong smirked. "By lying?" All Might's smile faded. "By choosing words that don't frighten them." Wukong's eyes narrowed. "So I must shrink myself to fit their fear?" All Might didn't answer right away. That silence was honest. Wukong leaned forward. "Tell me the truth, symbol of peace. Do you want me here?" All Might looked at him. "I want people safe," he said. Wukong tilted his head. "That's not an answer." All Might exhaled. "I want you to be good," he admitted, "because I can see you could be terrible." Wukong smiled, and the smile held no warmth. "At least you're not lazy with your fear." All Might met his gaze. "I'm asking you to help me, not the commission. Me." Wukong stared for a long moment. Then his grin softened. "You're heavy," he said it again, like before. "But you don't smell like a cage." All Might let himself breathe. "Good," Wukong said. "Then here is my promise. If I see harm, I stop it. If you try to stop me from stopping harm, we will have a problem." All Might nodded. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Wukong stood and stepped onto his cloud. "Also," Wukong added, almost casually, "your world's rules are strange." All Might blinked. "How so?" Wukong tapped his forehead band. "You have papers for everything," he said. "Even your heroes need permission to be heroes." All Might smiled again, a tired one. "That's society?" Wukong grinned. "Then society is very brave," he said, "or very foolish." And then he shot into the sky like a comet, leaving All Might alone with the weight of a world. Aizawa watched from the shadows, unseen. He didn't like the promise, but he liked the honesty. Then his phone buzzed, a short message from Hawks. "They're building a story to turn him into a villain. Stay ready." Aizawa looked up at the fading streak of cloud. "Yeah," he muttered. "I know." Far away in the dark, for one listened to the city's fear grow. He smiled. "Now," he said softly, "we make it personal." Night in Musutafu did not feel like peace anymore. It felt like waiting. Wukong drifted above the city on his cloud, legs crossed, staff laid across his lap. He stared down at the grid of streets and lights like it was a board game. He could hear pieces of the city even from up here. Sirens, shouts, music from a distant building, dogs barking, a baby crying. So many small lives, so many rules. He had fought gods who claimed they controlled the world. Now he was seeing something else. Humans doing the same thing with paper, fences, and fear. Wukong didn't like it. He also couldn't stop thinking about one question. Who wrote the rules here? Not, who is the strongest? He already knew the answer to that could change. He meant the deeper thing. Who decided who could fight? Who could punish? Who could lock people away? Who got to say, "This is justice"? In his old world, heaven had a court. There were kings, judges, books, lists of names. There was even an underworld with its own ruler. Wukong had gone there once. He had seen the book that listed when beings would die. He had grabbed the brush and crossed his own name out. He remembered the feeling of that ink. Power over fate. He wondered if this world had a book, too. His cloud slowed as he neared a hospital district. It wasn't a hero building. It wasn't a villain hideout. It was a place where people went when their bodies broke. Wukong drifted down onto a quiet rooftop. He listened. Inside, machines beeped. Nurses whispered. Doctors moved fast. Wukong frowned. This felt like the underworld's waiting room, but cleaner. He slipped through a window like mist, landing silently in a dark hallway. Cameras watched, but cameras meant nothing to him. He walked until he found a room with records, paper files, computer screens, names, dates. He stared. This was a book. Not mystical, not glowing, but it held power anyway. Wukong's fingers traced a list on a screen. Patients, injuries, outcomes. He read slowly. Some words were strange, but the meaning was clear. People got hurt. People died. And their names got written down. A nurse turned the corner and froze when she saw him. Wukong raised both hands quickly. "Don't scream," he said. "I'm not here to hurt you." The nurse's mouth opened. Her eyes went wide. "You're," she whispered. "Monkey King," Wukong said, like it was a normal introduction. "I have a question." The nurse swallowed. "Well, what question?" "Where's the judge?" Wukong asked. The nurse blinked. "The judge?" Wukong pointed at the screens. "Who decides who lives and dies?" he asked. "Who writes the list?" The nurse stared at him like he was insane. Then she said, very quietly, "No one decides." Wukong's eyes narrowed. "That's a lie." The nurse shook her head fast. "It's not," she said. "It's accidents, disease, violence. We try to stop it. That's all." Wukong's face tightened. No underworld king? No heaven court? Just chaos? He didn't know if that made him feel relieved or angry. He turned to leave, then paused. "What about punishment?" he asked. "Where do you put the worst ones?" The nurse swallowed. "Prison," she said. "Tartarus." Wukong's head snapped toward her. "Tartarus," he repeated slowly. "A name like hell." Wukong smiled, sharp and pleased. "Good," he said. "Now we're speaking the same language." He stepped back out the window and onto his cloud, leaving the nurse shaking in the hallway, clutching her badge like it could protect her from reality. Wukong shot into the night sky. If this world had an underworld, he would visit it. Not to break it. Not yet. To see who sat on the throne. Hawks noticed him first. He felt it like a change in air pressure. A strange movement above the city that didn't match any normal flight path. He perched on a rooftop and watched the golden cloud streak toward the coastline. "Of course," Hawks muttered. "Of course he's doing a side quest." He clicked his earpiece. "Aizawa," he said. "Your monkey friend just left UA airspace." Aizawa's voice came flat and tired. "Where?" "Heading toward Tartarus direction," Hawks said. Aizawa's stomach tightened. "That's bad." Hawks sighed. "Yeah, that's national crisis bad." Aizawa was already moving. "Don't engage alone." Hawks gave a soft laugh. "I wasn't planning to. I like my face." He kicked off the rooftop and flew after the streak. Tartarus sat like a dark tooth in the sea. Heavy walls. Security lights, layers of gates, patrol boats circling. It was built to hold monsters. Wukong drifted above it and stared down. He expected to feel a presence, a king, a judge, a spirit weight. Instead, he felt metal, machines, human fear. He frowned. "This is your hell?" he murmured. "It looks like a box." He lowered his cloud towards the outer perimeter. Spotlights snapped on. A loudspeaker boomed. "Unauthorized airspace! Turn back immediately!" Wukong looked at the lights like they were insects. "No," he said. Alarms screamed. On the ground, guards ran. Turrets rotated. Quirk-based defenses prepared. Wukong descended anyway, slow and calm. His staff rested in his hand. He landed on a platform outside the first gate. His tail flicked. A squad of guards rushed forward, weapons raised. Some wore support gear. Some had quirks ready. Ice, rope, shock batons. A tall guard barked, "Hands up! On the ground!" Wukong blinked. "Why?" "Because this is Tartarus," the guard snapped. "You cannot be here." Wukong pointed at the prison. "I'm here to meet the ruler." The guard stared. "The... what?" Wukong's face tightened. "Who decides punishment here?" The guard's jaw clenched. "The courts." Wukong scoffed. "Courts? Like a heaven court?" The guard didn't answer. He didn't understand the words, only the threat. "Detain him!" the guard shouted. A net launched from a cannon. It was thick, laced with tech, designed to hold powerful bodies. It wrapped around Wukong in midair. For half a second, the guards felt relief. Then Wukong sighed. He stood up inside the net like it was a blanket. He pulled once. The net snapped. Not slowly. Not with struggle. It popped apart like thread. The guard stumbled back. Wukong held his hands out again. "I am not here to hurt your small soldiers," he said, voice calm. "I am here for answers." A quirk user fired an electric blast. Wukong stepped to the side. The blast hit his cloud. His cloud flickered. Just a moment. Wukong's eyes narrowed. He looked at the tower where the shot had come from. "Interesting," he said. He lifted his staff and tapped it on the platform. The tap sent a smooth wave through the metal floor. Not a Razrushinia wave. A warning wave. Everyone felt it in their bones. "Stop," Wukong said, voice still simple. "I do not want a fight in your hell." A new voice cut in, sharp and controlled. "Wukong!" Aizawa landed on the platform edge, scarf already moving. Hawks hovered above, wings spread, ready to intervene. Wukong turned his head. "Tired eyes," he said. "Fast bird." Aizawa's voice stayed flat. "You can't just walk into the highest security prison in Japan." Wukong shrugged. "I can," he said. I did. Hawks floated down a little, hands raised. "Buddy," he said lightly, "this is the worst place to do your curiosity thing." Wukong pointed at the prison again. "This place is called Tartarus," he said. "That is an underworld name. I want to see who sits at the center." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "There is no king here." Wukong frowned. "Then who decides who stays in cages?" Hawks' smile thinned. "A bunch of humans with laws?" Wukong stared at him. "You built hell," Wukong said quietly. Aizawa stepped closer. "Wukong," he said. "Leave. Right now. Before this becomes a disaster." Wukong looked past Aizawa at the guards. He saw fear. He saw hands shaking. He saw fingers on triggers. He didn't respect fear, but he remembered what All Might said. "Fear stays." He exhaled. "Fine," Wukong said. "I will speak to the humans with laws. Bring them." A guard shouted, "We don't negotiate." The ground shook again, just slightly. Wukong didn't look at the guard. He looked at Aizawa. "Bring them," he repeated, voice calm but heavy. "Or I go inside and ask myself." Aizawa felt a chill, not because Wukong threatened, because Wukong sounded honest. Hawks leaned close to Aizawa and whispered, "He's not bluffing." Aizawa whispered back, "I know." A siren changed pitch. Then the real trap sprung. A shadow moved in the sea air. A shape rose from the water near the outer wall. Not a boat. Something alive. A massive Nomu climbed the wall like a spider, claws digging into concrete. It had the same metal frame on its chest, but bigger. Stronger, more stable. The glowing lines pulsed in a steady rhythm. More shapes followed. 3, then 4 more Nomu. This was not a random attack. This was a raid. Guards screamed orders. Turrets turned. Heroes braced. Wukong's face hardened. Hawks' voice went sharp. "Tartarus is under attack. That's a full villain assault." Aizawa's eyes snapped across the walls. "They're using him as a distraction," he muttered. Wukong looked at the climbing Nomu and then at the prison behind them. His staff tightened in his grip. "Bullies," he said. He launched upward, cloud surging toward the first Nomu with a snap of speed. The Nomu swung a claw. Wukong's staff met it. The impact shook the wall. The metal frame pulsed. A wave rolled out. Wukong felt it hit his cloud like a hand trying to slap it away. His cloud flickered again. Not gone, but unstable. Wukong's mouth curled. "So this is the plan," he said. "Make my ride stumble." He jumped off the cloud midair and landed on the wall itself, feet sticking as if gravity had changed sides. He didn't need the cloud. He never truly needed it. He struck the Nomu's wrist. Bone and muscle cracked. He struck again, fast, and knocked the claw away from the wall. The Nomu roared and lunged. Wukong spun his staff, shrinking it down for speed, then extending it just enough to jam it under the Nomu's jaw and lift its head back. He didn't waste time. He plucked hair, blew, and made a wave of clones that landed across the wall like a team of soldiers. Guards stared in shock as a dozen Monkey Kings began catching falling debris, pulling injured guards to safety and slamming Nomu away from weak points in the wall. Hawks muttered, "He's doing the hero job better than the heroes." Aizawa's scarf shot forward, wrapping a guard and pulling him away from a collapsing section. Aizawa's eyes stayed on the metal frames. "Those devices," Aizawa said, "they're not for him. They're to push him into making a mistake." Hawks's face tightened, like breaking a wall. Aizawa looked at the prison. Inmates inside, guards inside, systems holding everything back. If Wukong got angry and smashed the place, Tartarus would become a battlefield full of monsters. Wukong could win that battle. Japan might not survive the chaos after. Wukong slammed one Nomu into the sea with a single kick. Water exploded upward. Then a Nomu grabbed his cloud midair, crushing it in its hands like it was trying to pop a balloon. The seal device pulsed harder. Wukong felt the pull, a strange resistance. Like the air around his cloud had turned sticky. Wukong's eyes flashed. He grabbed the Nomu's forearm and squeezed. The Nomu's bones snapped. It still didn't let go. Wukong's jaw tightened. He didn't like being held. He didn't like cages. He inhaled. Then he did something different. He didn't yank harder. He went small. His body flickered into a fly in the blink of an eye. The Nomu crushed empty air. The fly zipped through the air, then grew back into Wukong above the Nomu's head. He dropped like a hammer. His staff grew thick for a single hit. He struck the metal frame on the Nomu's chest. The frame cracked. The pulsing stuttered. Wukong grabbed it with both hands and ripped. Sparks sprayed. Metal screamed. Then it came free. The wave died. Wukong tossed the broken frame into the sea like it was garbage. Hawks stared. He just solved the problem. Aizawa's mind raced. They're testing how to affect him, and he's learning faster. On the far side of the prison, a new sound rose. A deep, rolling vibration. A gate mechanism moving. A guard shouted, "They're trying to open an inner access point." Aizawa's blood went cold. "They want inmates loose." Wukong turned his head toward the sound. He could feel it now. The real goal. Not to beat him, to force him into a choice. Stop the raiders outside, or stop the breach inside. And if he chose wrong, the world would blame him. Wukong's clones turned as one, waiting for his command. Wukong's eyes narrowed. For a moment, his old pride flared. He could smash the whole prison and be done with it. End the problem quickly. Then he saw a guard near the breach point, pinned under fallen steel, screaming for help. Not a villain, not a monster, a human. Wukong's face changed. "Protect them," he snapped to his clones. "No one dies because of my curiosity." He launched toward the breach point, not with a roar, but with focus. Aizawa felt his shoulders loosen by a fraction. He chose people. Good. But the villains weren't done. A warp gate opened on a high platform inside the outer ring. Kurogiri stepped out, mist curling around him. Behind him, a small team moved fast, carrying a second, cleaner device in a hard case. Hawks hissed. "There's the real steel." Aizawa's eyes locked on the case. "Seal tech." Kurogiri spoke calmly into a comm. "Proceed. Ignore the Monkey King. Acquire the core unit and withdraw." Wukong heard him. Wukong landed on the platform in front of Kurogiri so fast that the mist shook. Kurogiri didn't panic. He bowed slightly. "Monkey King," he said politely. "We meet again." Wukong stared at the case. "You came to steal from hell," he said. "That's funny." Kurogiri's voice stayed smooth. "We all have our jobs." Wukong's staff pointed at the case. "Put it down." Kurogiri didn't move. "No." Wukong stepped forward. Kurogiri opened a portal. Wukong's staff slammed down, pinning the portal edge like before. The mist trembled, strained. Kurogiri's calm slipped for the first time. "You are difficult." Wukong grinned. "I am famous for that." The villains tried to run anyway. Wukong plucked hair, blew, and made 3 clones. Not dozens. 3. Because he had learned something. Too many clones made people think he was showing off. 3 clones made it look like strategy. 1 clone grabbed the case. Another kicked a villain off balance. The third stood between the villains and the portal. The villain holding the case yanked back. The clone didn't budge. Wukong's original body stepped closer, eyes hard now. "You want to put chains on a storm," he said quietly. "I know that trick." Kurogiri's mist thickened, pressing, trying to pull the case into a warp. Wukong's staff pushed into the mist like a spear. The portal wavered. Hawks dove, feathers slicing, forcing the villains to cover their faces. Aizawa's scarf snapped forward and wrapped the villain's wrist. For a second, the case hung between them all. Then a new sound, a small beep. The case opened by itself. A pulse burst out. Not from the Nomu device. This one was sharper, focused, like a needle. It hit Wukong's cloud, still hovering nearby. And for the first time, the cloud didn't just flicker. It dropped. It slammed onto the platform like it had lost its strength. Wukong's eyes widened. Not fear. Shock. Kurogiri used that instant. A portal snapped open under the case. The case began to sink. Wukong moved like lightning. He grabbed the case handle. The portal tugged. Wukong tugged back. The platform groaned under the strain. Aizawa shouted, "Wukong, don't!" Wukong's jaw clenched. He could feel the prison under him. The walls, the people, the systems. If he pulled too hard, something would break. He hated that. He hated being forced to care. But he did care. That was the problem. Wukong made a choice. He let go. The case dropped into the portal. Kurogiri vanished with it. The mist snapped shut. Hawks landed hard and swore under his breath. "They got it!" Aizawa's chest tightened. "They wanted him to do that," he said. They wanted to see if they could force a restraint choice. Wukong stared at the spot where the portal had been. His cloud lay on the platform, like a wounded animal. He picked it up with both hands, gently, like it could feel pain. His eyes were darker now. "They touched my cloud," he said quietly. Hawks blinked. "You care about the cloud?" Wukong looked at him like that was a stupid question. "It carried me," he said. "It is mine." Aizawa didn't like the possessive tone, but he understood it. This wasn't just transport, it was identity. Wukong stood, cloud floating again, weaker but stable. Below them, alarms began to quiet. Guards regained control. The Nomu outside were beaten back or driven into the sea. The raid ended, not with victory, with a message. On the platform, a guard approached, trembling. You broke our net. You entered our prison, and then villains attacked. How do we explain this?" Wukong looked down at the guard. His voice came out calm. "Tell the truth." The guard swallowed. "The truth will make you look like the cause." Wukong's mouth tightened. Aizawa stepped in, voice flat. "We will handle the report." The guard nodded quickly, grateful to have someone else hold the blame. Wukong stared out over the sea. He had come for answers. He found a box called Hell, built by humans, guarded by fear. He found no king, only systems. And he found something else too. A group of villains who were not trying to beat him. They were trying to steer him, to make him break the world so the world would hate him. Wukong's tail flicked with irritation. He didn't like being used. Aizawa watched him carefully. "You held back," Aizawa said. "You could have smashed half this place." Wukong didn't look at him. "Yes." Aizawa's eyes narrowed. "Why?" Wukong's voice came low. "Because that would be easy," he said. "And I'm tired of easy." Hawks exhaled slowly. "That's almost comforting." Wukong turned his head toward Hawks. "Don't get comfortable," he said. Then he stepped onto his cloud. He didn't leave like a runaway. He left like a storm deciding where to rain next. Aizawa's phone buzzed as Wukong shot off into the night. A message from Nezu. "Public reaction is worsening. Commission is furious." Also, a new leak is spreading. UA's Monkey King attacked Tartarus. Aizawa stared at the message, then up at the empty sky. "We're running out of time," he muttered. Far away, deep underground, All for One listened to the report. He heard that Wukong had restrained himself. He smiled. "Good," he said softly. "He can be pressured." He leaned back, eyes half-lidded, calm as ever. "Now we tighten the story around him," All for One said, "and we offer him a way out." On another screen, Shigaraki snarled, frustrated. "He let you escape," he spat. "I wanted his blood." All for One's voice stayed smooth. "You will have your chance," he said. "But first, we make him feel alone." All for One tapped the armrest once. "Because a lonely god," he said, "is the easiest one to tempt." 3 days passed after Tartarus. In those 3 days, Musutafu learned a new habit. People looked up. Not all the time, not every second, but often enough that it changed the city's face. They looked up at rooftops. They looked up at empty sky. They looked up when a shadow crossed a street too smoothly. They looked up, hoping to see a golden cloud, and fearing they would. Sun Wukong did not hide. He also did not stay put. One morning, he was seen standing on a radio tower outside the city, staff resting on his shoulder, staring at the sunrise like he was judging it. Another day, he was spotted on a bridge, sitting cross-legged above the traffic, watching heroes direct a pile-up after a villain caused chaos. He didn't speak. He didn't wave. He just watched, then vanished into the clouds like a thought. He trained, too. Not in a gym, not under a coach. He trained the way he always had, by testing himself against the world. In a quiet quarry far from neighborhoods, he moved his staff through the air with clean, sharp swings. The staff grew and shrank between hits, not by accident anymore, but by choice. He made it long enough to reach a cliff, then small enough to spin between his fingers like a baton. He plucked a strand of hair and made one clone. The clone fought him. Not as a joke, as a real partner, a real opponent. Wukong smiled when the clone landed a hit. "Good," he said. Again. He made another clone. Then 2. Then 5. He fought all of them at once, moving with a calm speed that never looked rushed. When a rock cracked under his foot, he adjusted without thinking. When a clone tried to flank him, he transformed into a bird mid-step and slipped above it, then dropped back into his body behind them and tapped their shoulders, one by one, like he was teaching a lesson. He stopped only when the wind changed. He could always feel the city's fear from far away now. It was like a low hum, and he hated it. On the 5th day, the commission tried again. Not with a press event, with a contract. A clean car pulled up near the edge of the quarry. 2 agents stepped out. Then the same suited man from UA came forward with a folder under his arm. He was smiling again, like smiles were a tool. Wukong stood still, staff in hand, cloud hovering behind him like a quiet warning. "You're persistent," Wukong said. "It's my job," the man replied. "We've prepared an arrangement that benefits everyone." Wukong's tail swished. "Paper. Structure," the man corrected. He opened the folder and held it out like he was offering peace. "A special status. You will be registered as a state-level asset. You will receive protection, support, and limits." Wukong stared at the word limits like it was poison. The man spoke quickly, sensing the danger. "Limits that protect civilians. That protect you from public backlash. There are protest groups forming. There are politicians demanding action. If we do not show control, they will push for force." Wukong's eyes narrowed. "Force," he repeated. The man's smile thinned. "Containment." Wukong chuckled once. It wasn't happy. "You want to build a cage big enough for me," Wukong said. The man held his gaze. "We want to prevent you from becoming an enemy." Wukong tilted his head. "And if I refuse?" The man hesitated. Just a breath. That breath told Wukong everything. Wukong reached out and took the folder. The agents tensed. Their hands hovered near their gear. Wukong flipped the pages. Rules, clauses, penalties. A paragraph about unauthorized aerial movement. He snorted. Then he pulled the pen from the folder's clip, leaned down, and signed the contract in large, careful letters that did not fit any box. Great sage equal to heaven. He added the same smiling monkey face at the end. Then he handed it back. The man's jaw tightened. "That isn't..." Wukong stepped closer. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't threaten. But the air still felt heavier. "This is my limit," Wukong said, calm as stone. "I will not be owned." The man swallowed. "You are in our country." Wukong's eyes sharpened. "And you are in my presence," he said. "Be polite." The agents shifted their stance. One lifted a wrist, ready to trigger something. Wukong glanced at them. His cloud drifted forward. The agents froze as the cloud's edge brushed their boots. It wasn't an attack. It was a reminder. Wukong looked back at the suited man. "Tell your paper king," he said, "to stop trying to write my name." Then he stepped onto his cloud and lifted off, leaving the contract flapping in the man's hands like a joke. The man watched him go, face tight with anger. As Wukong vanished, the man spoke into an earpiece. "He refuses," he said. "We may need to authorize the contingency." A voice answered, low and cold. "Understood," it said. "Proceed." That evening, Aizawa met All Might on a UA rooftop. The sun was down. The city was a spread of lights and motion below. All Might leaned on the railing, looking tired, in a way even his smile couldn't fully hide. "They're going to push harder," All Might said. Aizawa's scarf shifted in the wind. "They already are." All Might's eyes lifted to the sky. He isn't hiding. That helps. It also means we can't pretend he's a secret, Aizawa said. The public will decide what he is, whether we like it or not. All Might turned slightly. What do you think he is? Aizawa didn't answer right away. He didn't like guessing. Finally, he said, he's a person with too much power and too much pride. All Might's voice softened. And a sense of justice. Aizawa nodded. Yes, and that's why he's dangerous. All Might frowned. Because justice can clash. Aizawa's eyes stayed flat. Because if he decides the system is the bully, he will hit the system. All Might looked away again. For a moment, they stood in silence. Then Aizawa said, he went to Tartarus because he wanted to find the king. All Might's eyebrows lifted. That's what he said? Aizawa nodded. He's looking for whoever writes the rules. All Might exhaled slowly. Then we need to show him rules can protect people, not just control them. Aizawa's mouth tightened. Good luck. All Might glanced at him. You don't think it can work? Aizawa's eyes narrowed. I think it can work if he chooses it. We can't force it. All Might nodded. Then we speak to him again. Aizawa's phone buzzed. A single location ping from Hawks. He's above the Old River District. Alone. Aizawa pocketed the phone. Now, he said. Wukong was sitting on the roof of an apartment building near the river, legs dangling off the edge like a bored child. Below, water moved dark and slow. A few late boats drifted. The city sounded far away here. He wasn't doing anything illegal. Not really. But he could feel eyes. He could always feel eyes now. Hawks landed first, soft as a feather. He kept a friendly distance. Hey, Hawks said, voice light. You look like you're thinking too hard. Wukong didn't look at him. Your world is loud, he said. Yeah, Hawks replied. We're good at that. A second later, Aizawa climbed onto the roof from the stairwell, quiet as shadow. All Might followed, stepping onto the roof with a careful, heavy grace. Wukong finally turned his head. Symbol of peace, he said. Then he looked at Aizawa. Tired eyes. Then Hawks. Fast bird. Hawks smiled. You remember? Wukong shrugged. I'm not stupid. All Might stepped forward slowly. We need to talk about the commission. Wukong's mouth curled. Paper Kings. All Might didn't argue the name. They're afraid, he said, and fear makes people do stupid things. Wukong's eyes narrowed. Like cages. Aizawa spoke, blunt. They are preparing a containment plan. Hawks's smile faded. Not public yet, he added. But it's real. Wukong's tail flicked. His staff tapped the rooftop once. The roof didn't crack, but the sound still carried weight. They will try, Wukong said. All Might held up a hand. Wukong, listen. If they try to force you, the public will panic. Heroes will be sent. People will get hurt. Wukong's gaze sharpened. And you want me to kneel, so your people don't get scared. All Might met his eyes. No, he said. I want you to stay with us long enough for us to prove something. Wukong's expression didn't change. Prove what? All Might's voice was quiet but firm. That this world can handle someone like you without turning you into a weapon. Wukong stared at him. The wind moved his hair. The gold band on his head glinted under city lights. Aizawa stepped forward a little. I don't trust you, he said flatly. All Might glanced at Aizawa sharply, but Aizawa kept going. I don't trust anyone with that much power, Aizawa said. Not you. Not All Might. Not myself. Trust is earned. Wukong's eyes narrowed, then brightened slightly. Good, Wukong said. Honest words. Aizawa's voice stayed even. But I can trust what you do, he said. You saved people. You held back at Tartarus. That matters. Wukong's grin softened. Tired eyes can see, he said. Hawks folded his wings tighter. We're offering you a deal, he said. Not a contract, not a cage, a choice. Wukong tilted his head. Speak. All Might took a breath. Stay close, he said. Not as a hero in our rankings, not as a soldier, as an ally. If you act, tell us first when you can. If we ask you to step back, hear us out. And in return, we will not hunt you. Wukong stared. And the Paper Kings, Aizawa answered. We will push back, he said. We can't control them, but we can make it harder for them to be stupid. Wukong was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I don't like your world's chains. All Might nodded. I don't like some of them either. Wukong's eyes shifted to the city. But I like your children, he said. They try hard. All Might's expression softened. Wukong stood. For now, Wukong said, I will not leave. I will not kneel. I will not be owned. But I will listen. Sometimes. Aizawa's mouth tightened. That's the best we're getting. Hawks exhaled, relieved. I'll take it. All Might smiled, small and real this time. Thank you, he said. Wukong snorted. Don't thank me, he replied. I'm still deciding if your world is worth my time. Then the air changed, not from the wind. From something else. A faint vibration, like the sky remembering how to crack. Wukong's head snapped up. All Might felt it too, a pressure in his chest like the start of a quake. Hawk's eyes narrowed. You feel that? Aizawa's scarf lifted slightly. Yeah. Far above the city, a thin line of light appeared in the clouds. A crack, just like the one Wukong had come through. People below noticed. Their phones rose again. Screams began, small at first, then spreading. Wukong's eyes hardened. That's not mine, he said. Hawk's voice went low. Then someone copied it. Aizawa's gaze sharpened. All for one. Wukong's tail flicked once. He thinks he can play with doors. The crack widened. Something dark pushed through it. Not a person. A mass of twisting flesh and metal, like a half-formed monster dragged into the world. It fell. And before it hit the city, it broke into multiple shapes. Nomu, but stranger, with pieces that shimmered like the seal tech from Tartarus. All Might's jaw clenched. Evacuation, he said instantly. Now. Hawks launched into the air. I'm on it. Aizawa grabbed his phone. Nezu, he said. We have an artificial breach over the city. Nomu drop. Nezu's voice came tight. Understood. All available heroes are moving. Wukong stepped onto his cloud. His face was not playful now. Bullies, he said again. But this time the word sounded like a promise. He shot upward toward the falling monsters. The first Nomu hit the street like a meteor. Concrete shattered. Cars flipped. People ran. All Might landed in the impact zone a second later, grabbing a falling car and throwing it into an empty space before it crushed someone. He moved fast, directing civilians with loud, clear orders. Run to the left. Stay together. Keep moving. Aizawa swung through the air on his scarf, pulling a child off the ground as a shockwave rolled past. Hawks's feathers formed a moving shield around a group of people, guiding them away like a flock. And above them, Wukong met the second wave. He didn't punch first. He looked. He studied the monsters' chests. Each one had a smaller version of the seal frame, pulsing in sync with the crack in the sky. Wukong's eyes narrowed. They're feeding the door, he said. He plucked hair. This time he didn't make 10 clones. He made 100. They burst outward across the air like sparks from a fire. Some dove to the streets to rescue. Some flew to rooftops to guide people. Some rushed the Nomu to keep them away from crowds. The sky filled with Wukongs. People on the ground looked up and froze. A reporter screamed into a camera, "He's multiplying!" Fear and awe tangled together, and that was what All for One wanted. In a hidden building miles away, All for One watched the live feeds. Shigaraki paced behind him, shaking with anger. "He's stealing the show!" Shigaraki snarled. All for One's tone stayed calm. "Let him," he said. "The brighter he looks, the harder the fall will feel." A screen showed the crack in the sky. All for One tapped a control. The seal frames on the Nomu pulsed harder. Wukong felt it instantly. His cloud bucked, like the air had turned thick. Several of his clones flickered, their edges blurring. Not gone, but less stable. Wukong gritted his teeth. "Trying to make my army shake," he muttered. He lifted his staff. Instead of swinging wildly, he stretched it straight toward the crack. The staff grew longer and longer, rising into the clouds like a pillar. It touched the edge of the crack. The air hissed. Wukong pushed. The crack resisted, vibrating like a wound being held open by force. Wukong's eyes hardened. "Close," he ordered, as if the sky could obey. But the crack didn't close. It widened. A voice echoed from speakers hidden around the city, calm and smooth, like honey poured over a blade. "Sun Wukong," All for One said, broadcast to everyone. "Great sage, equal to heaven." People froze when they heard the name said with such certainty. Wukong's head turned slightly, eyes sharp. All for One continued, voice steady. "You hate cages, you hate rules, you hate being told what you are." Wukong's grip tightened. All for One's voice softened, almost kind. "This world will never accept you. They will always fear you. They will always try to control you. Even the symbol of peace will hesitate when you become inconvenient." All Might heard the broadcast and flinched, but he didn't stop moving. He kept saving people because that was who he was. All for One's voice grew warmer. "I can offer you freedom, a gate, a way back to your world, or a new throne here. Stand with me, and no one will try to leash you again." Shigaraki slammed a fist into a wall in the hideout. "Stop talking," he snarled. "Let me fight him." All for One didn't look back. "Patience," he murmured. "This is not about fists." Wukong hovered above the city, hearing the offer echo around him, hearing the fear in the crowd, hearing heroes shout evacuation routes. His old pride rose like fire, a throne, a challenge. A world that would kneel. For one heartbeat, the idea tasted sweet. Then he saw a mother on the street below, crawling over broken concrete with blood on her forehead, pushing her child ahead of her with shaking hands. He saw a hero, young, not famous, holding a wall up with trembling arms so people could escape under it. He saw All Might lift a bus door off a trapped man and smile at him, even with sweat pouring down his face. Wukong's jaw tightened. Freedom that cost other people's lives was just another kind of cage. He spoke, not into a microphone, but into the air. His voice carried anyway. "No," Wukong said. The simple word cut through the broadcast like a knife. All for One paused, just a fraction, as if amused. Wukong continued, eyes hard. "I will not be your weapon," he said. "And I will not break this world just to prove I can." All for One's voice returned, still calm. "Then you choose the cage," he said. "You choose their fear." Wukong's tail flicked. "I choose my choice," he replied. Then he moved, not toward the crack, toward the ground, because he understood the real battlefield now, not the sky, the people. He dove through the air, shrinking his body mid-drop into a small bird to slip through the thickening seal pressure, then returning to himself just above a cluster of Nomu. His staff shrank to a tight, fast weapon. He struck the seal frames directly, one by one, cracking them with clean hits instead of smashing bodies blindly. Each broken frame made the crack in the sky shudder. The door began to weaken, but All for One adjusted. A second wave of seal pressure hit the city like a net. Wukong felt his clones flicker harder. He realized something with a cold clarity. They weren't just trying to weaken him. They were trying to make him lose control in public, make him hit the wrong thing, make him become the monster in everyone's eyes. Wukong's gaze snapped across the city, searching for the source. He couldn't see it. All for One was too careful. So Wukong stopped trying to find him with eyes. He used a different kind of sense. He listened for the pulse. The seal frames had a rhythm. The crack had a rhythm. He closed his eyes for half a heartbeat, ignoring explosions, ignoring screams, ignoring fear. He felt the beat. There. A hidden tower near the river district. A building with no lights, but with a steady vibration under the city's noise. Wukong opened his eyes. He made 3 clones. Only 3. He pointed. "You," he told them. "Go there. Do not fight heroes. Do not hurt people. Find the pulse." The clones nodded and shot away like arrows. Then Wukong turned back to the city. He raised his staff and slammed it into the street. Not as a strike, but as a marker. The staff expanded into a long barrier line, dividing a danger zone from an evacuation route. Civilians ran behind it, protected from falling debris. All Might saw it and understood instantly. "Use the barrier," he shouted. "Move!" Aizawa swung down and landed beside the staff barrier, using it as cover, while he erased a villain trying to attack evacuees. Hawk's feathers guided people along the safe path. For a few minutes, the city moved like a machine that finally found its rhythm. Then the third trap came. A new voice came through the speakers. Different, more raw. Shigaraki. "You think you're a hero?" Shigaraki snarled. "You're just a freak who fell into the wrong world." A wave of decay spread across a street nearby, turning pavement into crumbling dust. People screamed as the ground broke under their feet. All Might's eyes widened. "Shigaraki!" Shigaraki appeared on a rooftop in the distance, hands twitching, grin wild, eyes burning with hate. He wanted Wukong's attention. He wanted a fight. Wukong looked at him. For a moment, his face went blank. Then he smiled. Not playful, not friendly. A thin, sharp smile. "You," Wukong said quietly. "You smell like rot and tantrums." Shigaraki shrieked and leaped, decay reaching like claws. Wukong didn't meet him head-on. He sidestepped in the air, transforming into a tiny insect for one blink to avoid contact. Then, reappearing behind Shigaraki and tapping him on the back of the head with the end of his staff. Not hard enough to kill, hard enough to make a point. Shigaraki crashed into a rooftop, snarling. He rose, furious, and slammed his hand down. Decay raced across the roof, eating concrete like paper. Wukong floated above it, untouched. Shigaraki's eyes widened. "Get down here!" Wukong didn't. He glanced down at the street again, at civilians still running. He made a choice without drama. He turned away from Shigaraki. Shigaraki froze, shocked. Wukong spoke over his shoulder. "I don't fight children while people are screaming," he said. Shigaraki's face twisted with rage. He lunged again. And this time, Aizawa snapped his scarf around Shigaraki's wrist from a rooftop edge, yanking him off balance just enough to ruin the strike. Hawk's feathers sliced in, forcing Shigaraki to shield his eyes. All Might landed between Shigaraki and the fleeing crowd, posture wide, voice like thunder. "Enough!" All Might shouted. Shigaraki hissed, claws out, eyes wild. Wukong watched them for half a second. He saw the teamwork, he saw the courage, he saw the fear, and he understood something new. This world didn't have a heaven court. It had people who tried to stand in front of the storm anyway. That was worth something. Above, the crack in the sky flickered weaker. One of Wukong's 3 clones returned, flying fast. "The pulse is in a tower," the clone said. "Machine room. Many wires. No people." Wukong nodded. "Good." He made another clone and handed it his staff. The clone blinked. "Your staff?" Wukong's eyes narrowed. "Just don't lose it," he said. The clone shot toward the tower with the staff held tight. Wukong turned back to the sky and stretched his empty hand. His cloud surged under him, stronger now, as if it had recovered its pride too. He didn't need the staff to be dangerous. He never did. He flew straight up into the crack. All Might shouted, "Wukong, wait!" But Wukong was already inside. The air in the crack was cold and wrong. It felt like being between worlds, like standing in a door that was not meant to exist. Wukong held his breath and pushed forward. He saw shadows moving in the gap, half-formed monsters trying to squeeze through. He didn't punch them. He didn't waste time. He looked for the thing holding the door open, a bright thread of energy, anchored to the tower pulse below. Wukong grabbed the thread with both hands. It burned like hot metal. He grinned through the pain. "Nice trick," he muttered. Then he pulled. Not with rage, with control. The thread strained. The crack shuddered. Below, the clone with the staff slammed the staff into the tower's machine room. The staff expanded, pinning cables, crushing the central device like a bug. The pulse stopped. Above, the thread snapped. The crack screamed, not with sound, but with pressure. Wukong shoved. The sky sealed shut like a wound closing. He shot out into normal air again, exhaling hard. The city's lights steadied. The falling monsters stopped. The last of the strange Nomu collapsed like puppets with cut strings. On the streets, people slowed, panting, staring up in shocked silence. For the first time in days, the fear hum softened. It didn't vanish, but it eased. Shigaraki, seeing the door close, screamed in frustration and tried to lunge one more time. Kurogiri's mist snapped open beside him and pulled him back. "We withdraw," Kurogiri said, voice strained. Shigaraki fought the pull like an angry animal. "No, he didn't even bleed!" All for One's voice came through, calm as ever. "Enough," he said. Shigaraki froze at the tone. He hated it, but he obeyed. The mist swallowed them. They vanished. All Might stood in the rubble, chest heaving, eyes scanning for more threats. Aizawa lowered his scarf slowly, still ready. Hawks landed beside a broken streetlight and let out a shaky breath. That, he muttered, was a nightmare. Wukong drifted down on his cloud, landing in the middle of a cracked intersection. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. People stared at him. Some backed away. Some lifted phones. A child peeked from behind a parent's leg, eyes huge. Wukong looked at the crowd. He could have spoken. He could have made another speech, like at the press event. But words were messy here. Words got cut and twisted. So he did something simpler. He walked to a crushed car and lifted it with one hand, gentle as if it were a chair. He set it down in a safer spot so medics could get through. Then he turned and helped a trapped person stand. No show, no grin, just action. All Might stepped close. "You closed it," he said quietly. Wukong nodded. "It was a bad door," he replied. All Might's smile returned, tired, but real. "You could have chased them," All Might said. Wukong looked at him. "And leave the screaming people?" he asked. All Might didn't answer. He didn't need to. Wukong's eyes shifted to the crowd again. "Your world will still fear me," he said, voice low. Aizawa stepped in, blunt as always. "Yes," he said, "some will." Wukong's tail flicked. "Good," he said. Fear keeps them awake. Hawks blinked. That's not comforting. Wukong glanced at him. I am not here to comfort, he said. Then his mouth curled, just a little. I am here to stop bullies. A siren wailed closer. Police and more heroes arrived, fanning out. Wukong looked up at the sky where the crack had been. Then he looked at All Might. I will not join your ranks, Wukong said. All Might nodded. I didn't ask you to. Wukong's eyes narrowed, thoughtful. I will not sign your papers. All Might's smile twitched. I figured. Wukong pointed his staff, returned now by a clone who faded back into hair, toward the city. But when your villains crawl out, Wukong said, I will be there. Aizawa watched him carefully. On your terms, he said. Wukong nodded. On mine, he replied. Then he stepped onto his cloud and lifted off. Not fleeing, not hiding, just leaving like someone who refused to be pinned to a single place. Hawks watched him go, then looked at All Might. So, he said, what do we call him now? All Might stared at the sky, then at the people helping each other below. He answered softly. An ally, he said. A difficult one, but an ally. Aizawa's eyes stayed tired. And a problem, he added. All Might didn't argue, because both were true. Far away in the dark, All for One watched the final moments. He saw Wukong refuse the offer. He saw Wukong choose civilians over pride. All for One smiled faintly. So, he murmured, the myth has a heart. The doctor shifted nervously. That's bad, isn't it? All for One's voice stayed calm. No, he said, it's useful. He leaned back. Now we know how to pull him, All for One said. Not with force, with people. The next week, the city didn't feel safe, but it felt different, like it had learned there were bigger storms than it could control. UA held classes again, students trained again. Life tried to restart. Midoriya still looked up, but now, when he looked up, it wasn't only fear, it was also wonder. On a quiet morning, Midoriya found Wukong where he had started to expect him, on a rooftop near UA, sitting with his staff across his knees, watching the training fields from a distance. Midoriya climbed up slowly, careful not to startle him. Wukong didn't turn. Watcher boy, he said. Midoriya's shoulders loosened. You knew I was here. Wukong shrugged. Your footsteps are loud, he said, and your thoughts are louder. Midoriya swallowed. He stepped closer and sat a few feet away, keeping respectful space. For a moment, neither spoke. The wind moved. The city hummed far off. Midoriya finally said, Everyone is still arguing about you. Wukong snorted. Let them. They're calling you a villain, Midoriya said, voice tight. Some people. Wukong looked at him. Do you believe that? Midoriya shook his head fast. No, he said. You saved people. Wukong's eyes narrowed slightly. Saving people doesn't make you loved, he said. Sometimes it makes you hated. Midoriya stared down at his hands. I know, he whispered. Wukong watched him for a moment. Then his voice softened, just a little. You are afraid, Wukong said. Midoriya nodded. Yes, he admitted. I'm afraid of you sometimes. Wukong's mouth curled. Good, he said. Fear means you're awake. Midoriya looked up quickly. But I also, he struggled for words. I also think you're lonely. Wukong didn't answer right away. He stared out at the training field. Students running drills, teachers shouting corrections, people trying over and over to become better. Finally, Wukong spoke, quieter than usual. When you are strong, he said, most people don't see you. They see what you could do to them. Midoriya's chest tightened. Is that why you fight so much? He asked. Wukong's eyes gleamed. Fighting is honest, he said. No paper, no speeches, no hidden knives. Midoriya hesitated. Do you miss your world? Wukong's tail flicked. Sometimes, he said. It had bigger enemies. Midoriya swallowed. Then why stay? Wukong looked at him. And this time, his grin was small and real. Because this world is strange, Wukong said, and because your heroes are stubborn. Midoriya almost laughed, but it came out as a soft breath. Wukong tapped the gold band on his head. Also, he added, I hate being told where I belong. Midoriya nodded slowly. Me too, he said. They sat in quiet for a few moments. Then Midoriya asked the question that had been burning inside him since the first day. What do you want now? Midoriya asked. Wukong looked up at the sky. No cracks, no doors, just clouds. He stood, staff in hand. I want, he said, choosing the words like they mattered, to see what kind of world this becomes when it can't pretend it controls everything. Midoriya's eyes widened. That sounds dangerous. Wukong laughed once. Life is dangerous, he said. Your world just forgot. Below them, All Might stepped onto the training field, greeting students with his big smile. Even tired, he still shone. Wukong watched him for a heartbeat, expression thoughtful. Then he stepped onto his cloud. Midoriya stood too, watching. Wukong looked down at Midoriya. Watcher boy, he said. Keep your heart. Keep your eyes open. Don't let fear make you small. Midoriya's throat tightened. Will you come back? He asked. Wukong's grin returned, bright and stubborn. When bullies appear, he said, I appear. Then he rose into the morning air, cloud drifting quiet and smooth above the school, above the city, above the arguments and fear. Midoriya watched until the golden speck became part of the sky. Down below, heroes trained, villains plotted. Paper kings wrote rules they hoped would hold. And somewhere above it all, a legend moved freely through a world that could never be the same again.